The battlefield encounter. The acrid smell of plasma burns filled the air as Private Sarah Chen tucked behind the twisted wreckage of a hover tank. Lasers sizzled overhead, cutting through the thick, purple atmosphere of Xenon 7. The human colony world had become a battleground, with the Varjan Empire pushing hard against the Terran Defense Force. Sarah's medic unit had been caught in the crossfire during a routine patrol. Now, separated from her squad, she found herself trapped between the advancing Varjan forces and the treacherous terrain of Xenon 7's crystalline forests. "This is Medic Chen. Does anyone copy?" she hissed into her comm unit. Static crackled in response. Sarah cursed under her breath, adjusting her helmet's atmospheric filter. The air here was breathable, barely, but extended exposure could lead to lung crystallization. A series of explosions rocked the ground, sending shards of purple crystal flying. Sarah peeked over her cover, her enhanced vision cutting through the haze. The Varjan troops were advancing, their insectoid forms moving with unsettling grace across the battlefield. Sarah knew she had to move. Staying put meant certain capture or death. She took a deep breath, tightened the straps on her medkit, and prepared to make a run for it. That's when she heard it. A low, keening sound, almost lost beneath the chaos of battle. It wasn't a human cry, nor was it the chittering of the Varjans. Curiosity overrode caution, and Sarah found herself moving towards the sound. She crept through the debris, her boots crunching softly on the crystalline soil. The keening grew louder, punctuated by what sounded like labored breathing. Sarah rounded a large chunk of twisted metal and froze. Before her lay a fallen alien soldier, but not a Varjan. This creature was humanoid, with iridescent scales covering its body and a crest of feather-like sensory organs on its head. One of its 4 arms clutched at a gaping wound in its torso, where pale blue blood seeped between its fingers. Sarah's mind raced. This had to be one of the Zalthi, a species that had only recently joined the war against the Varjan Empire. She had never seen one in person before, only in briefings. They were supposed to be on the same side, but in the chaos of war, who could be sure? The alien's eyes snapped open, all 3 of them, and locked onto Sarah. It let out a series of clicks and whistles, its translator struggling to convert the sounds to English. "Help, please. Not enemy." Sarah's training kicked in. Enemy or not, this was a wounded soldier, and she was a medic. She approached cautiously, hands raised to show she meant no harm. "I'm a medic," she said slowly, hoping the alien's translator could understand her. "I can help you, but you need to stay still." The Zalthi's eyes blinked in rapid succession, a gesture Sarah hoped meant agreement. She knelt beside the alien, her medkit already open. "This is going to hurt," she warned, preparing a nano-suture injector. The wound was bad. Some kind of energy weapon had torn through the alien's scales and into the soft tissue beneath. But it was treatable if she acted fast. As Sarah worked, her mind buzzed with questions. What was a Zalthi doing here, alone on the battlefield? Where was its unit, and how had it ended up so far from the main lines of battle? The alien hissed in pain as Sarah applied the nanosutures, its scales rippling in waves of color. "Easy," she murmured, more to herself than her patient. "Almost done." A distant explosion made her jump, nearly ruining the delicate work. Sarah glanced over her shoulder, suddenly aware of how exposed they were. The sounds of battle were growing closer. "We need to move," she told the Zalthi as she finished sealing the wound. "Can you walk?" The alien attempted to rise, its movements jerky and uncoordinated. "Difficult," it managed to say through the translator. "Systems damaged." Sarah made a split-second decision. She couldn't leave this alien behind, not when she just saved its life. With a grunt of effort, she helped the Zalthi to its feet, supporting its weight as best she could. "Lean on me," she instructed. "We're getting out of here together." As they stumbled away from the battlefield, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change everything. She was a human medic, helping an alien she knew almost nothing about. fleeing from another alien force that threatened them both. It was like something out of an old sci-fi novel. Yet here she was, living it. The Zalthi's breathing was labored, but it managed to speak again. Why? Help me? Sarah paused, considering the question. Because it's the right thing to do, she finally answered. Because out here, we have to look out for each other. Human, Zalthi, whatever, we're all in this fight together. The alien was silent for a moment, then made a sound that Sarah's translator couldn't quite capture. Something between a laugh and a sigh. Humans, it said, always. Surprising. They pressed on. Two unlikely allies in a war that spanned the stars. Behind them, the battle raged on, but ahead lay uncertainty. And perhaps hope. Sarah Chen, human medic, and her Zalthi patient were about to embark on a journey that would test the limits of trust, courage, and the bonds that can form even across the vastness of space. As they disappeared into the crystalline forest of Senan 7, neither of them could have imagined the impact their chance encounter would have on the fate of their species and the galaxy itself. Unlikely alliance. The crystalline forest of Senan 7 loomed around Sarah Chen and her Zalthi patient, its purple spires reaching towards the alien sky. Every step was a challenge, with the uneven terrain and the weight of the injured alien leaning heavily on Sarah's shoulder. The sounds of battle had faded, replaced by an eerie silence broken only by their labored breathing and the occasional crack of a crystal branch underfoot. We need to find shelter, Sarah muttered, more to herself than to her companion. Her eyes scanned the horizon, looking for anything that might offer protection from both the elements and potential pursuers. The Zalthi made a soft trilling sound that Sarah's translator interpreted as agreement. After what felt like hours of trudging through the alien landscape, they stumbled upon a small cave formed by fallen crystal formations. Sarah carefully helped the Zalthi to the ground before collapsing herself, her muscles screaming in protest. Okay, she panted. Let's take a look at that wound again. She reached for her medkit, but the Zalthi's hand, cool and slightly rough to the touch, gently stopped her. Name, the alien said, its three eyes blinking in sequence. What is your name? Sarah paused, realizing she hadn't even introduced herself in the chaos of their escape. I'm Sarah Chen. And you? The Zalthi made a series of clicks and whistles that Sarah's translator couldn't quite capture. In your tongue. Closest would be Zix-Era, the alien said. Zix-Era, Sarah repeated, testing the name. Nice to meet you, though I wish it were under better circumstances. She managed a weak smile. Now, let me check that wound. As Sarah worked, applying fresh nanosutures and checking for signs of infection, Zix-Era watched her with curiosity. You are different, the alien observed. Most humans we have encountered are warriors. But you heal. Sarah nodded, focusing on her task. I'm a combat medic. My job is to save lives, not take them. Even in war, someone has to patch people up. Zix-Era's crest rippled, a gesture Sarah was beginning to associate with deep thought. Fascinating. Among my people, roles are not so divided. We are all expected to fight. This piqued Sarah's interest. Despite the numerous briefings on their alien allies, actual information about Zalthi culture was scarce. Is that why you were alone on the battlefield? Where's your unit? Zix-Era's scales shifted color, darkening slightly. I was scout, separated from others. Communication, jammed by Varsians. The alien's voice, filtered through the translator, took on a tone of what Sarah could only interpret as shame. I failed in my duty. Sarah finished her work and sat back, studying her patient. You didn't fail, Zix-Era. You survived. And now you can bring back valuable intelligence about Varsian tactics. The alien's crest perked up slightly at this. Perhaps you are right. But first, we must survive this forest. As if on cue, a distant roar echoed through the crystalline trees. sending shivers down Sarah's spine. "What was that?" she whispered, reaching instinctively for the sidearm at her hip. Zixara's eyes widened, all three focusing in the direction of the sound. "Crystallic," the alien hissed, "apex predator of this world. We must move now." Sarah helped Zixara to its feet, wincing at the alien's obvious pain. "Can you walk? We need to find better shelter." The Zalthi nodded, its determination evident in the set of its shoulders. "I will manage. Lead the way, Sarah Chen." They set off deeper into the forest, every sense on high alert. Sarah found herself relying on Zixara's superior hearing and vision, the alien's head constantly swiveling to track potential threats. Despite their differences, they quickly fell into a rhythm, working together to navigate the treacherous terrain. As they walked, Sarah's curiosity got the better of her. "Zixara, can I ask you something? Why did your people join the war against the Varsians?" The alien was silent for a long moment, its scales shifting through a range of colors before settling on a deep, somber blue. "The Varsians. They destroyed one of our colony worlds. Millions, gone in an instant. We could not stand by." Sarah felt a pang of empathy. Earth had suffered similar losses in the early days of the war. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "We've lost worlds too. I guess that's why we're fighting together now." Zixara made a sound that the translator rendered as a sad chuckle. "Indeed. Strange, is it not? Our peoples know so little of each other, yet here we are, trusting our lives to one another." Before Sarah could respond, a crystalline branch snapped nearby. Both of them froze, eyes scanning the surrounding forest. Sarah's hand tightened on her weapon, while Zixara's scales rippled with tension. A massive shape burst from the undergrowth, all gleaming crystal facets and razor-sharp edges. The Crystallic, a creature that seemed to be made of the very forest itself, roared in triumph as it spotted its prey. "Run!" Sarah yelled, supporting Zixara as best she could. They stumbled through the forest, the thunderous footsteps of the Crystallic close behind. Crystal shards rained down around them as the predator crashed through the delicate structures of the forest. Sarah's mind raced, searching for a solution. They couldn't outrun this thing, not with Zixara injured. She needed a plan. Fast. "Zixara," she panted, "your people. Do you have any special abilities? Anything that could help us right now?" The alien's crest flattened against its head, a sign of concentration. "We can harmonize with crystalline structures, but I am too weak." An idea formed in Sarah's mind, crazy and desperate. "Can you teach me? Quickly." Zixara's eyes widened in surprise. "It is not something easily learned, but perhaps." The Crystallic roared again, closer now. They had seconds, not minutes. "Do it," Sarah insisted. "Whatever it is, show me." Zixara placed a hand on Sarah's temple, its cool touch sending a shiver through her. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with alien sensations, the vibration of the crystals around them, the subtle harmonies that ran through the very fabric of this world. "Focus," Zixara's voice echoed in her head. "Feel the resonance. Direct it." Sarah closed her eyes, concentrating on the strange new awareness. She could feel the Crystallic's approach, its crystalline body vibrating in harmony with the forest. With a mental push that felt like flexing a muscle she never knew she had, Sarah reached out to the structures around them. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Crystal spires erupted from the ground, forming a barrier between them and the charging predator. The Crystallic slammed into the newly formed wall with a resounding crash. Momentarily stunned, Sarah stared at her handiwork in disbelief. Did we just do that?" Zixara's scales were pulsing with vibrant colors, its crest fully extended in what Sarah could only interpret as awe. "Incredible," the alien breathed. "Never have I seen a non-Zalthi achieve such control so quickly." The moment of triumph was short-lived. The Crystallic was already recovering, its powerful limbs beginning to break through the crystal barrier. "We need to move," Sarah said, helping Zixera up once more. "Can you show me how to do that again?" As they fled deeper into the forest, Zixera began to explain the intricacies of Zalthi crystal manipulation. Sarah listened intently, her mind expanding to encompass concepts she had never imagined possible. With each step, the bond between human and alien grew stronger, forged in the crucible of survival. Behind them, the Crystallic's roars faded into the distance, but both Sarah and Zixera knew their journey was far from over. Somewhere beyond this crystalline forest lay the front lines of a galactic war, and the fate of both their peoples hung in the balance. As the purple sun of Sinan 7 began to set, casting long shadows through the crystal spires, Sarah Chen and Zixera pressed on. Two beings from different worlds, brought together by chance and united by a common goal. Their unlikely alliance was just the beginning of a story that would reshape the very foundations of the conflict that had brought them together. A new understanding. As Sarah and Zixera emerged from the crystalline forest, they found themselves overlooking a vast battlefield. Human and Zalthi forces were engaged in a fierce struggle against the Vargan invaders. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. "We made it," Sarah breathed, her voice filled with relief and exhaustion. Zixera's scales shimmered with a mix of emotions. "Indeed, but our journey is not over." They made their way down to the front lines, where their arrival caused a stir among both human and Zalthi troops. Sarah's newfound ability to manipulate the crystalline structures of Sinan 7, taught to her by Zixera, proved to be a game-changer in the battle. Working together, Sarah and Zixera coordinated a joint human-Zalthi offensive. Sarah used her medic skills to heal the wounded of both species, while also employing her new crystal manipulation abilities to create barriers and weapons. Zixera's tactical knowledge and natural Zalthi abilities complemented Sarah's skills perfectly. Their unprecedented cooperation inspired the troops around them. Humans and Zalthi, who had been wary of each other, began to work in tandem, their strengths combining to push back the Vargan forces. As the battle turned in their favor, Sarah and Zixera found themselves at the center of attention. Military leaders from both species approached them, eager to learn from their experience. "What you two have accomplished is remarkable," a human general said, looking from Sarah to Zixera with admiration. A Zalthi commander added, its scales pulsing with respect, "Your alliance has shown us the true potential of our cooperation." Sarah and Zixera exchanged a glance, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Their journey had not only saved their lives, but had also opened up new possibilities for human-Zalthi relations. "We have much to learn from each other," Sarah said, her hand resting on Zixera's shoulder. Zixera nodded, its crest rippling with agreement. "Together, we are stronger. This is but the beginning." As the sun set on Sinan 7, casting the crystalline landscape in an ethereal glow, Sarah Chen and Zixera stood side by side, symbols of a new era of cooperation. Their unlikely alliance had blossomed into something greater, a beacon of hope in a galaxy at war, and a testament to the power of understanding and trust across the boundaries of species. The battle for Sinan 7 was won, but the true victory was in the bonds forged between humans and Zalthi. As news of their collaboration spread, it sparked a wave of change throughout the alliance, forever altering the course of the galactic conflict.